I know you're asking yourself, who would cut up such a nice Bumpside crew cab? This is an air conditioning truck, and I don't need that anymore. In my last update video, y'all saw I got this black truck all taken apart, and as you can see, that's nicely in my way of all my tools and really close to the lift. But now I'm switching gears, as I like to do with my ADHD, and I'm working on this yellow truck here that I bought beforehand, thinking I was going to do the diesel swap to it, but now I'm actually planning on fixing it up on its original frame using some parts from this white truck here. So with that, I have a good running engine out of this black truck. That is a 352 V8 from 1967 with a manual trans. This 300 straight 6 was running for a while after I tinkered with it. I gotta find a good place to put y'all. Currently not. It's been sitting with no hood for a long time outside, but we got it pulled in here. With the help of a few buddies, we rearranged everything today, took the front end off of it, and now I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing, which transmission I'm using. Am I leaving the transmission and engine attached to each other? But the goal here is to pull this engine and trans out soon. I've got a cherry picker as well as the lift here if I need to use the lift arms to pull it out. So I'm going to try to start disconnecting everything to actually pull the engine, which I've never done before, and then start getting this white truck body on it. So got quite a bit of work ahead of us. This thing was super crusty. You can see a lot of these parts from the core support just like totally rusted off. So this 67 is in a lot better shape, but it's not a spring chicken either. So we're gonna try to get this thing ready. The main focus here is to have a cool looking patina old crew cab. So it's gonna take a lot of work to get this 2-door turned into a crew cab on this on this 71 frame. With that, I want to have a truck. That's why I'm going to go ahead and do this. I've had 5 trucks for a while that don't run or are not usable, street legal or anything like that. And I'm not looking like I'm going to get the diesel swap done anytime soon. So I'm trying to throw together a truck that I can drive, because we've been using my wife's Cadillac to do everything. Tow, haul, load up stuff. Today we had pine straw in it from trying to do the flower beds. And it's just ridiculous like that I don't have a truck when I have all these things sitting around. So I'm going to try to get this thing together. We'll try to get a lot of progress made in this video, and then hopefully be driving around in a truck that looks just like this with 4 doors, like the one that I drool about every day. It's my wallpaper at work, that American vintage 4x4 sold. So with that, I'm going to start pulling this engine out. So this is what I like about little trucks. You got so much room to work on them. But now I just took the front end off, making this a lot easier. I'm very comfortable here. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to get this clutch mechanism that's like bolted to the frame and screwed into the engine off. So we're trying to loosen this nut that looks important until it comes out all the way. I don't know if it's going to do it or not, but I thought it was kind of funny that I'm sitting in here. So once that's off, my buddy Cliff just got the, if you want to show, the exhaust unbolted there, which that came out pretty well. Pretty surprised, honestly, that came out. So then it'll just be a couple more smaller connections, like the throttle and all that, and then the actual motor mounts. Plus, if I'm keeping the trans with it, we'll have to unbolt the whole trans, but it's coming along. All right, underneath the crew cab long bed, I got the universal joint free now, and then looking at the transmission support, there's one bolt here that I could take out, get this whole thing out, plus then I can replace this pad probably easier. So I'm trying to figure that out, that size. And then I think it's just the 2 motor mounts really holding everything in here. So hopefully we can get this engine out tonight, which would be a ton of progress, because my goal for today was just to get this truck in here. And now it's mostly apart. So that's going well, thanks to a few good friends and some rust in my ear hole that's never going to come out. I'm using a metric 14 socket and ratchet on here, or socket and wrench, which just feels wrong because this thing is as American as it gets, but it fits just right. So let's see what happens here. That feels like it broke. Oh no. Look at that. Came right out. Nice. It's still got the nut. Alright, we're good. I might be able to reuse that. The transmission is no longer attached to the truck except by this plate thing, so I'll have to wedge it up because the way that it is. That bolt's out there, so I'll have to pry it up to get it out that way, but I think that'll be easier than trying to get these bolts out that look like they were on the Titanic. Taking out the speedometer cable right here too. It's a little gear for that. Y'all can see that in the light. That goes right in front of the drive shaft on the transmission, so got that pulled out. I knew that's going to be in the way eventually. These safety glasses aren't safety glassing because I got rust right in my eye and all in my sleeve and down my neck. I should have just came in here in my swimming trunks because it's everywhere in my back and everything, and it's not feeling too good. But we just got all the bolts off of both of these frame supports for the motor mounts. So we're gonna try to pick it up that way and take the whole bracket and everything, because those bolts are easier to get to, it seemed like. Probably not, but they're having to come off anyway because the V8 mounts are different as far as I can tell. So got those all out, and now it's just a matter of picking it up, getting it out. But the transmission is in the way of the firewall, so I don't know if I can get the right angle because of the cross member. So I might get creative with that. I might pick the cab up. I might cut a hole because I'm replacing part of the cab. Haven't decided yet, but I think that's where we're gonna call it for tonight, and we'll pick this back up when we make some progress. With the crew cab long bed in here, the 6.7 power stroke barely fits in here, and by barely I mean it has to be touching the bed here, and the bed is not attached to the frame and all the way up against the truck. So we've maxed out my shop here. It's 40-foot length here, 24 wide. Planning on these trucks always being next to each other, not in line with each other once they're done, because that's totally not going to work. Also, not going to have the tow hooks, but still don't want to be that close. So right now I'm working on figuring out where I'm going to cut this truck, because I want to use this 67 dash. It has a better look to it, some 1-year only parts, as well as less rust because this one's from California, and the floor is more solid. This is the only hole I have to worry about, whereas on the yellow truck I've got less metal than I have holes. As you can see, we've got the full Flintstone mod going on here, and you can just kind of, you know, go right through that. It's a little bit stronger than I thought. That kind of hurt actually, but this is not ideal. So we're gonna swap them right at the crew cab seam here where they factory weld them together at Ford, and I'm planning on cutting it right about here, just like I did this green truck here that is for the 6.7 swap. So that's kind of my thing. It's cutting these things in half, so you can kind of see what that looks like sitting there. So I'm going to try to do a front clip swap pretty much. This cowl and everything will be from the white truck because I've got some rust in this drip rail. Not that bad, but it's got one hole right there, and the other side's a little worse. The white truck is really solid, and it has everything I want on it already. Wiring, all that stuff works better for the swap I'm doing. 67 engine with a 67 dash and everything, it all just plugs in. So we're gonna be cutting this thing about here and here. So to do that, I've been working on taking the headliner out. I've got all the screws out except for one in the center, and this thing looks like it's full of a rat's nest. I'm hoping it's just sagging. So we're about to take this last screw out and see what happens. I think this is the screw. Big old screw. Okay. Try not to lose that, and then oh, I need that. Let's see. Got a bag of parts here. All right, and then the front is just kind of held in with faith, I think, at this point. What is holding this on? I guess it kind of goes up and over like that. Okay, I think I can just rip the headliner down this. Oh yeah, what is that? That's nasty, look at that. That's definitely a rat's nest. Can y'all see that? I'm gonna try to get this out very carefully so it doesn't make a mess with you. Oh yeah. Hopefully that's been retired for a long time. What even is that fluff from? That is nasty. All right, well, we'll get this thrown away. It didn't all fall on my head, so that's a win, but I knew it was gonna be gross in there. The other truck does not have a headliner, but this black one does. And as rusty as this black one is, it's gonna be really exciting when we get in there to its headliner, which has a crazy red, like the seat, like this panel here all over it. So, and it like leaves like red dust on everything. So that's gonna be really exciting whenever we chop this thing up. But for now, trying to get this thing on the road using the white truck. It's really tough to talk myself into cutting this thing because the whole reason I bought the black truck was because I did not want to cut this truck in half because it has a really solid roof. So it is a shame to cut it, but in order to stretch it, it's gonna have to be cut anyway. So without further delay, I got the Sawzall and I'm gonna start hacking this thing up. What's up? Yeah, I'm making a video. 3,500? Where's it at? All right, let me check it out. There is another old crew cab on Facebook Marketplace for the same asking price, 3,500. That's what they were asking for this one. I paid 2,800 out the door on this guy here from up in Tennessee. But this one, 3,500, it's worth checking out before I cut this one up because it may be a better candidate to cut up and I could end up with two. Let's go see what they got. I think just cutting that front section off, it's kind of always been part of my plan because the other pillar here is like kinked on that side, causing the windshield to crack. The dash is dented in, so I think like a deer came through the window or something at some point, I don't know. But you can see there's like a daylight gap through there. Something's not right in that corner. And obviously I have massive holes, so I'm just psyching myself up to cut this thing in half. So right now what I want to do is take the front doors off because I'm going to use the white doors from that truck. It'll match better. I'm hoping to only have to paint the middle section, like the roof and the back, you know, trim around the door and the back door. So with that, I think it'll look just like the American Vintage four-wheel drive truck that sold for like 82 grand that I'm obsessed with. It's been my wallpaper at work for a long time, and I've shown it to y'all like 10 times, but I want to drive that truck. I want to build it. I have the pieces here, but it is quite the puzzle. So I'm gonna take these doors off, see how far I get tonight, but amping up to cut this thing in half again. There we go. If I haven't lost y'all yet between starting this project 5 years ago, buying this thing and trying to swap this cab onto it and then change my mind doing this one. Now I want to have two trucks, and now I'm talking about chopping them all up and adding a third truck into the mix, or fourth or fifth, or whichever one this is. But I'm also swapping back doors, so I wanted to explain that real quick. The rear door of this 71, if I can get in here, you can kind of see. These 68 and up had the paddle type handle versus on the 67s. It's a lever, front and rear. And I was just in here checking this out. I have really good, you can't see nothing in here, but I'm on top of a pallet right now, by the way, on wheels. But let me just climb on in the back seat of this rig. And we've got real nice door action. The window kind of rolls up and down, just needs some fluid film in there. But that is to say, I'm not putting my best stuff on the old truck. This door, while it has been restored in the 90s or something, it is also got the rust, just like the rest of the cab, from being from Pennsylvania and everything. So I'm gonna take this door that is ruined, but shuts good, and put it on the white and yellow truck situation so that my 1967 door handles and everything will match with this truck that has the same lever style handles there. The ones for over here are in the glove box, but that'll all match and be nice. But at the same time, I'll have to do some rust repair here. And for the 6.7 Power Stroke that's coming in the future with this thing, I'm going to be stretching this back door to make it fit on the newer frame. It's about 10 inches longer, so instead of shortening the frame and leaving no leg room, I'm going to lengthen the back door by using a front door, which has been done before, but the combination of stuff I'm trying to do should be pretty nice. With that, I just poked a hole in my finger, but I'm going to use the yellow doors for that and cut them to make a bigger back door, as opposed to these doors, which are 1967 only rear doors and are extremely hard to find. So I think that's going to be the best use of both worlds. I'll have a pretty solid door to cut into for my 6.7 Power Stroke swap, and then these I'll just have to do some rust repair on the whole bottom half and swap some stuff around. Probably use another front door, which, by the way, I'm going to be swapping things back and forth anyway. It should work out pretty well. So with that, I'm getting these back doors off, and in the future at some point I'll have the black doors on the yellow truck with the white front end and the white bed, and it'll all get rust repaired, painted to match, and I'll have a pretty solid setup that I can drive hopefully within 2025 this year. We'll see what happens. I played that back and just wanted to make sure I clarified the reason I want the newer style 68 to 71 or whatever paddle right in the armrest like this truck has and these back doors is because the 6.7 has the same exact style factory like paddle in the armrest, and then you have your power for like the windows going up and down, and the door locks is all right there in the armrest. So I want to kind of keep that and have power windows and locks and everything on the new truck, which will be easier with the newer doors. And that way I'll have a 1967 looking old crew cab long bed with the lever handles, and then the newer truck with the new interior will have the paddles that just kind of work better with that. So that's why I'm doing that swap. Got my Eastwood MP250i welder that I plan to weld all these trucks together with, as well as the plasma cutter that's on a shelf on top of it. This will be my first time using the plasma cutter. Just did a little test pass here, and I think I needed a better ground because I just had it connected to this rusty bolt hole. So I cleaned up a spot right here to attach this connector to for the ground. So now with that, I'm going to try to make my first cut. I've just pried off the little metal rusty tab that looks like that right here, and found some rust, as well as cleaned it up a little bit with the belt sander. And you can see one of those little holes right there. It's kind of blurry, but I'm going to try to plasma cut right down here through the paint and everything and hope for the best. So I'm hoping that with this little bit of bare metal, it will get started and cut through it. I've got this set running off of the adapter here because I don't have my 240 hooked up yet. I do have it for the lift, but I don't have a plug for it. So if this doesn't work, I may just go ahead and finish wiring that plug and then use 240. So I've got this thing kind of ready to go off of 110 or 240, 220, whatever. I'm not an electrician. I just take metal and hit it with hammers and stuff. So anyway, here's my plasma cutter, both ends of it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this going. I took the guide off because I'm gonna have to make some pretty sharp corners here. So let's try it out. Well, it seems like my electrical in the shop is not wanting the air compressor to run at the same time as this. So it's tripped this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and flip the breaker, turn the air compressor off so it's not constantly running, see how that goes. Still on fire. The smoke wouldn't quit. Decided to dig up in there. I've got this thing stinking up the place. Super smoky. Smells awful. So keep a fire extinguisher. I got an old expired one in this black crew cab right here. There's a spot for one right here on this yellow one. I'm gonna go dunk this in water, get rid of it. Y'all be careful out there. plasma cutter blowing a big hole in this thing and being kind of messy, but the tiny little saw that I cut the other cab in half with pretty cleanly is making a mess of this because the hood, or excuse me, the roof is just so like floppy. It's just shaking and it's not letting it cut smooth. It doesn't have enough reinforcement on that much surface area. So I'm gonna try the plasma cutter out, see how that goes. I just duct taped a machinist ruler, just a metal ruler to the roof. The roof is super sticky and like dirty, so it's not sticking very well, but it's gonna be a guide for a nice straight edge. This was my original plan for the plasma cutter, but I thought I could do a better job with that little saw because it went so well on the last truck. But because it's going all over the place, I'm trying to do this. I have a bigger one I could have borrowed from work, but this like 1 foot one will have to do. We'll see how it goes. Well, I just cut the only nice piece of this crew cab up, and it is not pretty. I have a lot of grinding to do to get it to be a straight edge. My technique from the previous truck was not working that well, so I tried something new. It took me a little bit to get that figured out, but we got it cut. There's a little bit of metal holding on here and there, but as y'all can see, we got a squiggly line going from one side to the other. I also have this very specific jack stand here. That is a poster that's rolled up, holding the roof up so that I don't get it collapsed. So you can see there's a little bit of a gap there where the front collapsed. This sheet metal is super thin and wobbly. I got a big dent in the back that's been here forever, but you can see you just kind of poke it and it just flops, and it's like sheet metal for the roof of this building. Very thin, sounds like a, you know, bit of thunder every time you wiggle it a little bit. See that dent just popped out again. So gonna have some dents I have to straighten out. I need to reinforce this thing. It's a common issue that these are not very well reinforced across the, you know, left to right, and there's a lot of just thin sheet metal flopping around. So we will be doing that once we weld this thing together. Pretty excited about the progress, although, you know, you can see I wanted to cut it here and got a little bit ahead there, so gonna have a lot of grinding to do to get back to that line, but at least I cut it, you know, long, so I can always take more off. As it started getting sloppy, I started getting farther away from my line to make sure I didn't cut too much off. So here's some of the rust that I'm trying to get rid of by doing this, as well as the pinched pillar here, which you can see goes right into the cab, so that's not ideal for rust and weatherproofing, and probably why there's a massive hole in the floor right here. So with that, also a little banged up here and there, and I'm not surprised, no wonder that this windshield is cracked, because it probably will never fit in there right, and it's just flopping around right here. So that accompanied with these little pinholes here that are starting to pop through, I decided to cut it up. Y'all go ahead and let me know in the comments if you know anything about these Bumpside crew cabs. How horrendous is it that I just cut this thing up, because it's really not that bad of a roof on this thing. But let's see how it goes when I get it back together, if it was worth it or not. I know you're asking yourself, who would cut up such a nice Bumpside crew cab? But you know what you got to do? This is an air conditioning truck, and I don't need that anymore. We're getting rid of the AC, heat only. I've switched which side has the strap and the hook to get a little bit better bite on this piece right here. The reason that didn't go any better, I think, is because although I had this disconnected right here, unbolted, it was still kind of locked into place by the bolts. So I'm going to try to kind of maneuver this rag joint separate with this flathead, and then kind of roll the truck back and forth until that comes off. I think it was picking it up right there. Yeah, so a little up and down with the lift, forward and back. Should get that off. There we go.
carburetor is now holding the weight of the front of this cab, but that's fine. I'm not using this old single barrel or 6-cylinder anyway, but it's not a bad motor. It might get used for something at some point, so try not to break it too badly. I got the lift holding it on that side. I'm gonna try to pick it up over top of here, see how far I can go, and then roll the truck a little bit more and do it again. We're gonna make it done. All right, let's see if we can pick it up. It's moving, guys. You see that? There it goes. Well, look, now I can push the truck. Well, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's been a pretty productive weekend getting out here, getting the front end off of this thing and the engine pulled out. I got work tomorrow morning, but I'm going to start chopping up this YouTube video and get it up for y'all. So I'm excited where I'm at. I was hoping to maybe pull the rest of the cab off. And the reason I did it separately is because it just seemed easier to take it off that way because it was in the way of the engine and trans coming out a little bit. So I went ahead and did that. I was going to chop it anyway, and then I'm going to cut it more precisely a little bit later for when I replace the whole floor and everything from the single cab. So with that, it's a good stopping point. I need to get the fuel tank out next so I can take those cab bolts out. This is the second or third truck I've pulled the front end off of and not had to remove the cab mounts because the body was so rusted. So I just pulled them right out and they're still there. So I'll have to, even that core support one too. So have to get those bolts out. Do quite a bit other little steps, hoping to maybe sandblast this whole frame. I might just wire wheel it. Either way, I'm going to paint it black, make it look nice. So we'll see how much attention it needs there. But really excited to get this thing going, get the V8 in it. I'm going to keep the manual transmission like it had. I have two of them, thankfully. And then try to make it full-wheel drive, do a few other things to it, make it awesome, and look cool with the white patina truck. So y'all stay tuned. Really enjoyed doing this project. Making some big progress finally after looking at this thing for years. So hopefully it comes together nice and we can be driving it this year. With that, I want to thank y'all for watching. Please subscribe, give me some love. I've been putting a lot of thought into these trucks. Really excited to get this thing on the road with 4 doors, room for the family, and with the long bed, throwing 4-wheelers in the back, going camping, who knows what. Trying to fix up this camper shell as well, so should be pretty cool, and that'll give me something to do while I work on this truck for the rest of my life probably. Try to get this 6.7 Power Stroke swapped with my other Bumpside Crew Cab. So thanks again. Y'all check us out. We've got Facebook group, Instagram, all that good stuff. We're on TikTok as well. Check it out.